Hi everyone. Just a very impromptu live, just to see who's around, see how you are. I was just in the car, and as I was driving around, I just wanted to see whether anybody else is having this experience. I keep having dreams about people that I have known for a really long time and that I haven't seen for a long time, and I'm saying goodbye to them in my dream. It's like the dreams are layered. It's like so the other night I had one about a friend who we've been friends for a really long time, but I haven't seen her for a long time. So I don't even actually know what her whole take on this whole time is. I don't even know. But in the dream, there was the part of me that actually was saying to her, like, there was the part of me that was sad. There was the part of me that was a little bit angry for some reason, not that she's done anything. And then there was this underlying kind of deeper perspective where I knew I was saying goodbye to her. And I keep having these dreams where I'm saying goodbye to people that I've known for a really long time, but I haven't seen physically for quite some time. I haven't had any contact with. And I just wanted to see whether any of you were having the same experience, whether you were actually physically saying goodbye to people that you've known for a really long time, whether you're having dreams where you're saying goodbye to people, and just how you're feeling about it. Clearly it's a time of, I don't even want to say it's a time of great loss, because that kind of gets us into the frame of mind of like, we don't want to let it go. I feel like it's a great time of letting go, and that feels really different to loss. It doesn't mean that there's not grief or sadness, but letting go is different to loss. And yeah, I wanted to see how you are. I wanted to see how you're all doing, and I wanted to just see whether this is a common thing that we're all experiencing, whether there is a letting go. It feels like it's on a massive level. I feel like I'm dreaming about it because it's like it needs to be in my awareness, but it doesn't need to be done physically. Like, it doesn't need to be done consciously with these people. Christina, hello. It reminds me of the metaphor you used about people at different gates at the airport. Yeah, and I was thinking about that, Christina, because I was feeling like I'm letting things go so easily now. Now, so when I was, just before I turned 8, I moved here with my mum and my brother from Austria. And basically, it's layered. I mean, I didn't, it wasn't something that I kind of wanted to do. It wasn't a great thing for me. It wasn't like oh yes, my whole family's moving, because they didn't. It was just half my family, and all of my extended family that I'd been really close to all my life stayed behind, and all my things. So basically, I got given a box, put in the box, whatever you can take with you, that's what we'll go over. It would have been on the ship at that point in time, and that's what we'll take with us. And then arrived here, not knowing the language, not knowing anybody, and kind of only having a box of my things. So when you have that experience, many of you will be able to relate in some way or another. When you have that experience in your life, you can go one of two ways. You can either become somebody that really holds on to things and go, and I can't let go. You could become like anywhere from like a hoarder to somebody who just goes like, I can't let this go. It has too much memory. I can't let this go. I can't let this go. Once I kind of, and the processing took decades, but what was quick, that I felt really fortunate, was I quickly realized like my whole being ached for decades for the people that I no longer was able to have. Some of them I didn't see, nearly all of them I didn't see for 7 years physically. And then I only saw them sporadically up until sort of my later 20s. My whole being ached for them. When I was a child, sure, I missed my bike. I missed the new things that I had. I had a new bedroom set, like, little table desk thing that I was so proud of, with a little lockable drawer and, all that stuff that I just was sad to leave, it very quickly meant nothing. And the gift of that experience for me was that it really quickly taught me, you know, things don't mean anything. Like, I can walk away from things. I can walk away from them in a heartbeat. So fortunately, I went that direction, where I will look after my things. I value them. I respect them, but they are only things. And if they were gone tomorrow, that's fine. So it really taught me the value of people. But how are you finding this time where there's so much letting go? So I feel like it's getting easier and easier and easier for me to let go of all things, in a sense. And I feel like, so my airport metaphor, which if you don't know what that is, just quickly in a nutshell, we're starting to separate out from people that we might have spent our whole lives with, because we can take the journey, like we can take the journey to the airport together. Once we get there, our gates are at different parts of the airport. So once we get there, we have to start to separate out into what our own individual journey is. And we're not all taking the same journey. So we might have spent a long time getting to this point in our evolution to the airport. But now we need to go to our own gates, because if we spend our time sitting at someone else's gate, we can do that. Sure, if you go, you know what, I'm not ready to let go of this person, I'm not ready to let go of this situation, this job, this whatever, you can sit at someone else's gate for a really long time. You can even get on the plane with them, but you're going to get further and further into a journey that is not your own, or them with you. So I feel like now it's like we're on the actual plane. We're not even at the gates anymore. And so I feel like there's more and more letting go. And I want to know, how are you experiencing that? Are you experiencing letting go? How are you feeling about it? Do you feel like you need to hold on even tighter? Are you getting better at letting stuff literally just fall away? That either is naturally going, or that you kind of, as you feel into it, you're feeling like this just is not for me anymore. So I started this whole life by saying I keep having dreams where I say goodbye to people that I've known for a really long time. And I feel like it's just like, it's kind of like I don't know. It feels like it is maybe it's just like the souls sort of thanking each other for this level of the journey. Maybe it's just in this human form. I don't know. But I just wanted to check in and see if anybody else is feeling that. Yes, feeling okay. It is what it is. I'm not changing myself to keep relationships that have run their course. Yeah, I love that. Do you all feel like you are stepping more and more and more into yourself, like unapologetically, like not in even like a fighting for it kind of way, but like you say, Christina, like it is what it is. It is what it is. Less and less I kind of feel the need to even explain anything, to even like put anything in context. Sometimes I don't even feel the need to put anything in context. It's like, I don't need you to get me. I had this experience with a prospective client recently, and just a very like one step into the process, I could already tell you, no, this isn't gonna work. And when I said that to her, she then most likely, I don't know, she might have felt rejected, whatever, and she tried to convince me that it was. And I didn't feel the need to explain. I didn't feel the need. It was just like, no. And I feel like that is what's happening. It is what it is. Can you relate with that? Do you feel like, I mean, how are you all feeling? How are you, like, is there a lot of letting go in your life? Is there a lot of loss? Is there a lot of, is there a lot of separating out at the gate? And do you feel like you're on your own journey? And do you feel like that is getting easier or harder? And I love, Christina, how you say about relationships that have run their course, because it is really as simple as that, isn't it? Like, it doesn't always have to be someone's fault. It doesn't have to be like that something didn't work out. It can literally just be it's run its course, time for a different direction, time for a different course. Anyone who's joining now is like going, oh, this is exciting. We're watching a woman drink a cup of tea. I have ended up with 2 rooms of stuff that need to go, and have realized that the stuff I have ended up with has been other people's stuff, very symbolic of how I have lived. Oh my God. Everything is symbolism in this experience. Everything is symbolism, right? I remember when I was studying kinesiology, everyone would always come up to me and go, oh, this is happening. What's the symbolism of that? Like, what do you mean? Like, this is happening with my car. What does that symbolize? Literally everything is symbolic. We're living with symbols, and symbolism is everything. And so if you want to know what stands in your way, what impedes you, like literally like that is the gold, where you can literally look at it and go, oh my God, look at that. It's everybody else's stuff and I'm still carrying around for them. Now it's an energy issue of doing the last step and physically getting rid of it. And you know what will be really important too is that you understand you chose to carry it, because that's the ultimate frontier. The ultimate step in being in your power is when you go, I'm going to own all of it, right? Which doesn't, like, ego will often hear that and then quickly go into like, oh, so, you know, the other person, don't worry about the other person because you're the one carrying their stuff, right? So then the ultimate in really stepping up in that power and responsibility is like, so why did I choose to carry it for them? And it might be that you get your sense of value by easing other people's load. It might be that that is how you have felt that you can be important in other people's lives, that you can be needed, that you could, all of that. It could be that you didn't want to carry your own stuff or look at it, so you kept amassing other people's that was actually in your way. They're the kinds of questions that you can really, this is the time for it. Like, this is the time. We're on the home stretch. We're like at the 11th hour where you want to let go. Like, so imagine this, right? Imagine if we are at a portal junction where this massive, fabulous, beautiful portal's open, and whatever you jump through with, you're taking with you. In terms of issues, in terms of load, in terms of staff, all of it. Even in terms of relationships that aren't working anymore. Whatever you jump in with, you're taking with you. So really, ideally, we want to be able to jump through that as lightly as we can. Also, the thing about being light, is that if we're too heavily weighed down with the stuff, we cannot get to the heights that we want to get to. Hey Sue, now it's an energy issue of doing the last step. Yeah, beautiful. Hey Sue, I'm heading to an event where most don't align with me these days, planning on all these topics that are neutral. Okay, it's a really good point, right? So how are people playing that? How are people playing that? A, you can stick to neutral topics. Or, so I recently did a permaculture course where nobody really would have known much about me aside from permaculture. And what I did there was I just met people where they were. So if they were very in the narrative of being fearful, if they were very in the narrative of what they were playing out, I just let them play it out. Like, I don't need them to meet me because it's situational. I'm not in a relationship with these people. It's situational. So therefore, I'm not going to pull them out of wherever they are. I am not going to take myself out of wherever I am, but it's a very energetic thing. So I was able to be with them whilst they wore masks, distanced, worried, did rat tests, did all the things that are required in the game. And I did none of those things, but they wouldn't have known. And I didn't wear a mask, but they didn't know that I didn't none of those things. So because where we joined was in the permaculture, and with the respect of, well, you are here, I am here, and nobody needs to pull the other out of where they are. See how that feels, Sue, because that actually then felt really good for me, and I was able to really like connect on that human level where it did not matter. They are all the things that didn't matter, because I didn't feel a need to change them, and I didn't feel a need to change when I was with them. Absolutely. I've been dealing with this prior to 2020, been going through everything, people and belongings. I realized I used it to keep me distracted from dealing with me. Yeah. Hi, Haruka. How are you? Yeah. And that is once you get to that kind of realization, because we can spend our whole lives on the outside looking at other people. What are they doing to me? How are they mistreating me? How are they not respecting me? How are they not regarding me? We can spend our whole lives doing that. Ego will like literally turn a place upside down and find a crumb of something and go, see, I knew I was being disrespected. There's no power in that. There's never power in that. There is never power in that. You can spend lifetimes looking for those crumbs and waiting for everybody to stop disrespecting you. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, because disrespect is just the natural fallout of sharing this space together, even when it's not intended. So when you turn it back within, and then you really start asking the questions where your power really is, like, why did I carry all this stuff? Where did I get my sense of self in that? Where am I needing this person to be different? Where am I disrespecting myself? Like, if you get up every single day and you start asking, what is missing? How am I feeling in this situation? And then you turn it and you say, where am I not giving this to myself? Now you're swimming in the realm of power. Like, now you're literally, like, now that portal's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger as your sense of self gets more and more empowered, and as you stand more and more in your own space, fully creating the world that you live in from the inside out. Like, you understand that has to happen from the inside out. And that's how it happens. It happens by asking those questions, by looking around and going, okay, what do I see? And what's my part in it? What am I experiencing? And what's my part in it? Ego's going to say, well, that's victim blaming, and because I'm surrounded by narcissists, and now I'm letting them off the hook, and now they're not having to take responsibility. Don't worry about anyone else. Don't worry about anyone else. People may share some space with you, but at the end of the day, this is a solo journey. No one is responsible for you getting home, and no one can do it for you or even with you if you're not aligned, but with your own sense of self. Like, does that make sense? Yes, I can let others be, but it's a bit hard with family. It is a bit hard with family, Haruka, and I do not envy you the position of living with them, because that is not something that I could do. If I needed to do it, I would do it. But look, it's something we can all do, but it is like, it's tough. It's tough. As an adult to live with parents, it's tough. It's tough to live with parents when you're a kid, let alone an adult, you know. And the thing is that parent-child relationship, when the parents are unhealed, when the child is unhealed, it's just pinging off like triggers. When one heals and the other one isn't, then it's still difficult, because it can be easier sometimes, but it's still like there's a lot of triggers. There's a lot of mirrors. Parents and children are just mirrors for each other all the time. Children are the evolved version of the parents, and then parents can get really confronted by having this more evolved version of themselves looking at them, and they can, you know, there's guilt and there's shame and there's just all sorts of triggers pinging around. Oh good, I'm glad that's helpful. So let me know how that goes. Hi everyone who's joined. I just had a long argument with my parents. I was feeling like I'm not being respected. So, you know, have a look at like, okay, where can I respect myself? Is there any point in having a long argument with my parents? Am I placing my parents in a position where I am the child? And this is something where you have to really check in on that, Haruka, of, because parents keep the mind frame of parent, child can keep the mind frame of child, and when they come together, like we've all seen it and we'll all have experienced it. Like you can be a grown-ass person and get into your parents' house, and like next thing you know, you're acting like you're 14, right? Everybody can do that to a certain extent. Parents can really like be disrespectful to the kids when they've got this whole mind frame, well, you're my child. They forget you're an adult. So where you can really break that from your end is to really step into that adult role. Really step into that adult role. Remove any like asking, remove any looking for approval, remove any kind of signs of placing them in the parent role. Okay, that's not about disrespecting. That is about energetics that you give off. Does that make sense? So really check in and have a feel into like, do I keep placing them in the parent role and then get pissed off when they put me in the child role? Shift your part of that, which again would be easier if you weren't physically living together, but shift your part in that and really step into your adult self when you're around them. Check on your tone, how you speak, make sure that you're not falling into that like almost teen rebellion kind of thing where you're battling against them. You just claim your power and you just go, well, this is my power. And I'm not looking for you to parent me in this situation. I hope that is helpful. Let me know if it is, Haruka. The other thing with letting things go and being lighter is, so because this was in the YouTube live last week, I just want to share it here as well in terms of being lighter. And that was what came up was that the ego can't hold a heaven template. The ego can't, oh, that's good. I'm glad, Haruka. The ego can't, so again, you just always bring it back to like, where am I feeding this? Where am I doing this to myself? If you walk away from any scenario feeling disrespected, 99.99999% of that is us disrespecting ourselves with what the person has just said or how they've acted, right? They throw their bit into this kind of mutual territory that we share, and then we use it against ourselves, either by not being there for ourselves, not holding space for ourselves, not regarding ourselves, not allowing the emotions that come up as a result of that, or what we say to ourselves as a result of that. And we begin to disrespect ourselves. And that's really where the disrespect comes in. And that's what kind of causes the greatest damage, in a sense, to our sense of self. But then we look at the person who did that and we go, well, you did that, and I feel disrespected, and ego puts two and two together and goes, well, that is the cause of this feeling. And we're never going to get out of that unless we can put a stopgap in, which is where I talk about the power of the pause, until we can put a stopgap in and consciously step into that space and go, hang on a minute, what if that did not create this? What if that just is, it is what it is, like Christina was saying, it is what it is. And then how am I feeding my feeling of disrespect? How am I feeding it? How am I keeping it going? What am I contributing to this scenario, this situation? And what am I contributing to my sense of disrespect? It's only once we can live in that realm that we are going to actually be fully in our power, and that we're actually going to be able to step out of our ego enough to even see the wood for the trees. So if you're first time here, or if you listen to this later on and you haven't heard me speak about ego before, when I'm saying ego, what I'm meaning is the least evolved part of our minds that every single human being has. That part of our minds, which has been given the job to keep us safe, and it does that by using the past to determine the present, and by using the past to predict the future. It cannot, so this is what came up, not last night's live, but the week before on YouTube. Ego cannot hold a heaven template. So I want to share this with you because it was big for me to receive it, and then to realize, oh, of course, ego. So we've got this desire, many of us, everyone, I would say, just about most people on the planet would have a desire of heaven, experiencing heaven, whatever that looks like. Let's say this is our opportunity to experience heaven on earth. Many people are waiting for that in whatever it looks like, whether that is like peace, whether that is abundance, whether that is equality, whether that is, a more loving place, whatever that looks like for you. It's going to depend on your age. It's going to depend on you, what you love to do, your passions, whatever. Heaven will be created through us. I mean, that's the first thing that's important for all of us to remember. Heaven will be created through us. We will create heaven on earth. But ego can't hold a heaven template. Ego can only imagine worst case scenario. And in this matrix program that we're kind of caught in a sense, the reason why they're constantly wanting to trigger our ego to keep us in it, so they trigger our ego with the constant stream and steady diet of fear and conflict, alarm, alert. They're constantly wanting to ping your nervous system into feeling danger so that our ego is alive and well. They also at the same time feed us a steady stream of you are not enough. You have a look at the beauty industry, you have a look at the fitness industry, you have a look at fashion, you have any of it. You are not enough. You are not enough. So between danger, you are not enough, danger, you are not enough, your ego and the conflict, the addiction that ego has to conflict, and therefore start becoming really aware of, if you watch TV, how much TV does that. Even if you don't, if you're watching videos like Fall of the Cabal, hey, I'm not saying either way, I'm not saying that it's crap, and I'm not saying whatever. I'm just saying even videos that are like kind of anti-mainstream, they'll still appeal to our sense of like drama. They'll still appeal to our addiction to the kind of music and the voiceover that they'll use, and then they'll go, you won't believe this, and in the next and they'll keep you hanging. And all of that is really playing to our ego's addiction to drama and to conflict. What happens when we're fully constantly in it is we're so easily manipulated. And this desire over here for heaven, this desire over here for peace and for harmony and for unity that we are programmed with, it, is constantly being hijacked by your own ego. Okay, so just like before I said, regardless of what somebody does to you, until you can step up and say, what part did I play in that, even to the extent that where am I using that against myself? Where am I using that to disrespect myself, to devalue myself, or whatever? The same needs to happen now with the fact that we can keep battling the outside for eternity. We can keep battling the outside as we spiral further and further down into shadow. Or we can really rise in that and say, okay, what is my part in this, in anything I see, whether it's war, whatever I'm seeing, what is my part in this? And when we can start asking that, then we're fully in our power. So because ego can't imagine a heaven template, and because the Matrix program is designed to manipulate us through our ego, this is why we get all the programs and all the movies of contagion and war and alien invasions and all of that. You can sit there and you can watch 25 Will Smith films where, whatever, and you can go, what a load of shit. But on some level, your ego will keep that. Your ego will keep it and store it away. And so when times like this happen, that are so kind of like, I don't want to use the word unprecedented because I seriously might just vomit myself. But times that are so heightened, times that are so kind of in the unknown, right? Your ego is going to go, I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. There's going to be Armageddon. I know what's going to happen. We're all going to, it'll be every man for himself. It'll be like, they'll come and take everything, they'll whatever. Because we can imagine that. Because your ego can imagine that. So your ego, our egos will continue to create hell on earth. Purely and simply because it cannot hold the template for something that it has not experienced before and something that it has not been programmed for. So in this human experience that you're currently in, you've got your ego, which is your least evolved part of your mind, going, the sky's falling, the sky's falling, the sky's falling, I am not enough, they are not enough, oh my God, it's all going to hell. And then you've got this other part of you that is literally programmed at this time to be a part of creating heaven on earth. And they don't battle. Only ego battles. Okay, so if you have any kind of argument going on in your mind, it is never between your ego and your higher self. If you have any kind of argument going on in your mind, it is never between fear and intuition. Never. Because that side does not argue. Ego argues with itself, and ego will take the inferior and the superior. It will take the fear and the what are you frightened of. It will take the oh my God, it's all going to hell, and the oh no, it's okay. It'll take both of those sides. While we're in it, we cannot create heaven on earth in whatever form you want that to look like for you. We will stay very easily manipulated, very easily controlled. Have a look at how the narratives change like that. And no one even misses a beat. Okay, I'm saying no one, that's complete. That's not true. Many people have stopped and stepped back and gone, I'm not playing anymore. But the majority, if you watch the majority, narrative change, almost like a key change in a song that you don't recognize when you're not a musician. Key change, great, still the same song. Key change, still the same song. Great song, love the song, reacting to the song. Change of narrative, right? Pandemic, war, currencies, banks, whatever, right? Petrol, shortages, constant change in the narrative, and the mass is literally swims along like a school of fish. I keep imagining like a school of fish. You know how they will like just suddenly like change direction, and they'll all go like that? I feel like that's how the masses swim along. While it's kind of being controlled, come over here now come over here, now come over here. It's like my dog's face when I have a treat in my hand and she'll like just be like that. And if we stay in our ego, which we're all in a lot of the times. Some people are still in it 100% of the time because they don't realize there is any other way. We're so entwined with that, we think we are that. We think that voice is us. When we stay in that, we're just literally, even if you're aware, remember aware is not awake. Even if you're aware agenda change, narrative change, even if you go, but now you've gone, "Rrr," and now I'm going to attack that instead of that, or "Rrr," and now I'm going to talk about that constantly instead of that. Now I'm going to be divided on that instead of that. You're still part of the swimming school of fish. So I wanted to bring that up because it was in a YouTube live, and if you didn't catch it, the ego cannot imagine a heaven template. A heaven template will have to exist. We can already be in it. Last night, what came up was you can already be online. And the heaven template is ours to create. We're here to create it. We're here to literally embody it and bring it to earth. But ego cannot create a heaven template. And whilst we continue to stay in it, we will continue to experience hell on earth, whilst desiring for heaven on earth, whilst waiting for an external savior to create the ladder so that we can step into it, which we can't do whilst we're not an energetic match. So any thoughts on that? Any questions on that? Anything? If you've just arrived, how are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? Any thoughts on what I've said? Loss, letting go, heaven on earth template. Taking full responsibility by realizing that we're always the ones that, tuning in and really asking, where am I doing this to myself? I will save this, so if you've come in partway through, you can watch it back. Let me know how you are on a Tuesday in 2022. I wonder if I'm not respecting myself. Haruka, guaranteed, we're all disrespecting ourselves a lot. Like so much more than we realize. And it is a life-changing question. It is a life-changing, because the thing with life is it's challenging and it's difficult and it's hard and it can be fucked and it can be just heartbreaking. But every single moment, within every single moment, there is a choice. There is a choice within every single moment. Even when it feels like there isn't any, you always have the option of whether you will use something against yourself or whether you will use it for yourself. And because we're so in that ego, we're so in that least evolved part of our minds, and its whole swirl of feeling not enough, it uses just about everything to beat itself up with. And when we're still connected with it as though it is us, then we just become part of the fallout. So we start to think that beating ourselves up is a normal way to live. We then extend it out. We start extending it out to others around us, and people who are really in a world of pain will extend it out to like literally everybody. That's that beating up. So as difficult as life is, it's never anywhere near as challenging as it is when you are beating yourself up about something. So ego will use anything. Ego will say, the thing with feeling disrespected by other people, can someone else disrespect me? For sure, in the moment, if I'm being physically abused, that is a disrespect beyond my control. I cannot control that happening to me. The moment it's over, literally the moment it's over, the disrespect, the disregard, the abuse continues. Every victim of violence will tell you this. Every person who's been at the hands of something hurtful will tell you this. It continues. But the part of it that continues is where we continue to now keep it in the now, keep bringing it in the now, keep bringing it in the now, keep bringing it in the now, as though it's still happening, as though it's still happening. Okay, that's an absolute extreme end. Let's take it to a really, really, really like kind of everyday event end of it. So, you know, you're in the supermarket and someone's rude to you. You walk out, and now is that disrespect? Is it really disrespect? Can you be disrespected when you don't disrespect yourself? You're having an interaction with somebody that's technically rude, let's say in their tone, in how they're speaking to you, whatever, how they look at you. Technically, they're being rude. Who says? Are they even doing it to you? But okay, so now we take that on and we start speaking to ourselves about that. And we walk away and we're going to the car and we're going, can't believe how she just spoke to me. And ego starts running through the scenarios of what we should have said. Clever little things to say. Then we come home, we're unpacking the groceries and we tell our partner, you should have seen this lady at the supermarket, she was so rude. Then we talk to our friend and we go, oh my God, and I should have said this. And they'll turn around and go, yeah, you totally should have said that. How bad is that? Da, 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 right? And we keep it alive, 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 keep it alive. And then at night you're lying in bed and you're still kind of, and at 2 a.m. your ego's a bit bored and goes, hey, we could think about this lady today. And we could start to think about how dare she. And after ego has had enough about beating this lady up, it will start to beat you up. You know, if you had better boundaries, it wouldn't happen to you. If you were tougher, it wouldn't happen to you. You should have said this to her. You shouldn't take that shit. And then you start to go, okay, hang on, who else has disrespected me? And ego will go down in its swirl and it will spend your whole life there. Literally. What you're seeing on the outside play out with mainstream media is literally just an external symbolic representation of what happens in your brain with your ego. It'll find one thing to hold on to, and then it'll take it to, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this, to keep you in this swirl of what it is addicted to, which is drama. It's addicted to fighting. It's addicted to drama. It's addicted to conflict. This is why we can also easily be triggered into this shit and war each other, because we're constantly warring ourselves, right? You're just seeing on the outside what plays on the inside. So going back to the lady at the supermarket, can she disrespect me if I refuse to be disrespected? Can she? Can she? Or is she just somebody doing whatever that I pay no attention to? Can you disrespect me? Can someone pop up now and go, you're an idiot? Which has happened. Happens. Anyone that has a public channel talking about anything today has been trolled, has been targeted, has been called an idiot. Is that disrespectful to me? Is that disrespectful to me if I don't allow myself to be disrespected? If I'm not bothered by this person's opinion? So of course this is on a spectrum. Don't let your mind go, oh my God, so are you saying no one can? I'm not saying about what people are responsible for. I'm saying what you're responsible for in your life. And the thing is, if we really stood in that, if we stood in it even just 20% more than what we do today, the thing is we'd actually all become nicer, more compassionate people, and we actually would disrespect each other a lot less, even just accidentally. Or the accidental disrespect that goes on when we really don't understand what we're doing and what we're saying and how we disregard each other. And 99% of the time, we disregard each other so much because we disregard ourselves, because we have forgotten who we are, we have forgotten who we each are to each other, and this leads to like this disregard and disrespect. And 99.9% of the time, it's actually not intended for that. And 99.9% of the time, the woman down at the supermarket who was rude to me wasn't doing anything with me. She was just doing whatever she was doing. Okay, Sue, I'm not sure what the start is, but to speak about making a better world, heaven, and people will continually say it's not possible. I can't understand that mindset. Yes. People don't say, well, yes, people are saying it's not possible because their ego says it's not possible. Because ego goes, okay, can I experience heaven on earth? And then what ego does, see, because the thing is, there is an aspect of each one of us that is eternal. Ego isn't. Ego comes along for the ride in these human 3D experiences, but it is reborn each time. So there's a new ego, a fresh ego that has no comprehension of before, no comprehension of after. It's the aspect of us that will say, don't be ridiculous, there's no this, there's no that, there's no, show it, I'll believe it when I see it, prove it to me, And that ego goes, well, I'm looking back in my past that started the day we were born into this physical body. And it's going, but I haven't experienced heaven on earth, so no, it's not possible. But what I have experienced, because our bodies don't know the difference between imagination and real, and ego doesn't either. So ego can so easily be programmed. And this is why, in this Matrix program, have you noticed your egos are programmed to expect worst case scenarios? Now, are all movies Armageddon films and alien invasion and, we're all going to die? No. But most other movies do tend to have, like, if they're a rom-com, if there are, any kind of relationship movie, they're really toxic. I mean, the woman's waiting to be saved. The guy is like, it's pretty toxic. So we're still being sold toxic messaging. But this is why people cannot imagine heaven on earth, because they're too heavily in their egos. But yet the irony is we're actually here to create it. We're actually here with the blueprint for it, but ego cannot have the template. So this is why, this is Sue, this is where they're coming from. What is our role in changing the narrative game? Do we just concentrate on ourselves? So yes, you concentrate on yourself, which is controversial, because then that brings up the whole thing of like, well, is that selfish? You concentrate on yourself as the starting point of any change you wish to see. You concentrate on yourself and the question every day. So every day, imagine this. We get up each morning and we check in and we tune in, right? This is the whole point of my book of setting the tone, to know that we set the tone. We get up every day and we go, okay, where is my power? How am I giving it away? What tone am I setting as I walk through my day? What am I modeling to people? What is my messaging to people with my energy, with my words, with how I live my life? That has to be the focus, because the most loving thing I can do for the collective is to be the most aligned, authentic, loving expression of myself that I can be. So if I'm constantly checking in and going, how healthy am I? How authentic am I? How much in my power am I? How am I contributing to this? How am I contributing to that? When I look at the world stage, where am I feeding conflict? Where am I feeding warring narratives? Where am I feeding division? Where am I feeding fear? Where am I feeding any of these things? How can that not be the most powerful thing I can do for the collective? Along with that comes this relationship with my ego. That's the other thing that the book and my work teaches you to do. Because a lot of people will say, get rid of the ego. I'm not one of them. To me, our least evolved part of ourselves is a good part of our guidance system. And I would love us all to wake up to it, to go, okay, this is the least evolved part of myself. I am separate to it. I'm going to lead it. I'm going to parent it. I'm going to be the adult in the room. But when it starts to arc up, when it starts to kind of speak to me, I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to tune in and go, where am I off track here? Where am I off path here? Where have I forgotten myself? Where have I forgotten my power? Where have I forgotten myself? And as we continue to do that, this becomes part of our guidance system, and then we use it, and we can go along with it being kind of a really powerful part of our guidance system. So therefore, as we can sit with our own fear. Okay, so not only getting up every morning and saying, how am I setting the tone? Am I making sure that I'm in my power? Where am I handing it away? Where am I hemorrhaging it? Where am I forgetting that I have my power? How am I contributing to everything I see? Also, let me tune in with the least evolved part of myself that is frightened and that is addicted to conflict and that cannot see any other way out. And let me start to be compassionate towards it. What happens when you start to be compassionate with your own fear is you start to be compassionate with other people's fear. And now, when there's like fear and conflict pinging around this world like nobody's business, you actually start to step back from that and go, and that is also how you stop taking things so personally. That is how you kind of, in a sense, stop feeling so disrespected, because you realize like that is that person's fear. And you can start to be more compassionate with their fear, which doesn't mean you lie down, which doesn't mean you go, oh, you can't, you can just say whatever to me, I understand, you're just frightened. In fact, you actually probably walk away way more easily than you would have. But you become, so the more you actually focus on yourself, so do we just concentrate on ourselves? The just in that actually concentrating on ourselves is one of the most difficult things we can do. It is uncomfortable, it is confronting, and that is why we spend our whole lives focused on the outside. You're also encouraged to focus on the outside in this Matrix program, because that's when you're not in your power. When you focus on the outside, when you're busy thinking about how other people, what do they need? What can I get them? How can they be happier? How can they be healthier? How can they improve? What does the world need? What is my opinion on this? When we're constantly taken out of ourselves. That is why social media has been set up. That is why the TV has been set up. Partly to program you, but also very powerfully to continue to take you out of yourself so that you're not in your power. Because concentrating on yourself is what you are here for. You are here to evolve into your highest expression of yourself, and that is how you make the greatest contribution to the whole. I hope that is helpful. You can watch the whole thing back later. It talked to family issues, yes. Do you feel that it's important to feel every emotion that comes up? You can't not feel it, because suppressing it is really toxic. We try that and it doesn't go well. It kind of comes out in disease, it comes out addictions, all sorts of things. Every emotion must be felt. It will not allow you not to feel it. Where the emotion becomes like a thing that can either work for you or against you, let's put it in that category, is what you then do with it. It's what you then do with it. It's what you allow ego to label it as. It's when we start putting it in categories of weak, or good emotions, bad emotions, all that sort of stuff. Once we start doing that, that is when emotions can start to wreak havoc. But emotions are like a brilliant guidance system that also gets suppressed in this system. Have a look at how emotions are kind of like, they've been taken and they've been, what's the word I want to use? Initially I thought demonized. Demonized isn't the right word. It's like they've been turned into, I can't think of what the specific word that I'm actually looking for, but we've made them out to be like, they're like a mental illness. Like, how is depression a mental illness? How is anxiety a mental illness? Like, what? So we've been taught purposefully, because emotions are an extraordinarily powerful navigational system that totally will create heaven on earth, that totally will help you in evolution, the evolution of your soul and in this experience. So therefore we already suppress emotions in children. We medicate them. And when I'm saying we, I'm talking the Matrix narrative. We teach them that they are, unsafe, they are inappropriate, don't be angry here, don't be sad here, don't, all this sort of stuff, all the rules about emotions. Boys can't feel, sad, girls can't feel angry, all that sort of stuff. We make it really toxic, and then we encourage each other, spend our lives trying to suppress them. And like the people that can suppress them are somehow, more revered in society than the people who can't. That's just like, so any emotion is important to feel. It won't let you not feel it. It's what you do with it that will then determine whether you're going to use it against yourself or for yourself. Can this be a subject to be considered for a live? We're on a live, my love. How do we find balance between standing in the energy of I am a strong, independent woman in my own right and allowing a partner to support us? So that really does feed in with this whole thing that we've been taught about emotions. And because we live in a patriarchy, what a patriarchy does is it suppresses emotions, right? Patriarchy teaches men they're not allowed to be sad, and it teaches women they're not allowed to be angry, they're weak. A patriarchy teaches women that they're weak, and it teaches men that they're not allowed to have emotions. And so therefore our ego understands that and takes it on and processes it and says, if I'm to be a strong woman, then this is what I must embody. And it has inverted the whole concept of strength, because strength really, like real strength, is being able to be in full flow and support. Real strength is being so in tune with your emotions that you respect and regard them. That takes us back to like, how do I disrespect myself? How do I disregard myself? It really starts with the emotions and the not allowing of that and the trying to suppress that and the bullying ourselves when we do feel emotions, how we talk to ourselves about feeling emotions. So it's not even if we can, so to be independent to me is in the processing, not in the living, not in how you might live externally. It's I am independent when I can self-soothe. I am independent when I have my own connection with wisdom. I am independent when I can sit with my emotions and regard them, and I don't need you to do that for me. I am evolved when I can do that with you in the space, right? When we can get rid of the shame that we feel about being vulnerable. We've been taught that purposefully. Like, please know that is another like matrix programming to purposefully be taught to have shame around vulnerability. Vulnerability really means I will not, to be able to be like, the actual meaning of vulnerability is I can authentically be myself around you and I'm not asking you for permission of that. I can authentically feel what I feel around you and I am not asking you to validate that. So really, if that's the meaning of vulnerability, then being an independent, strong woman and vulnerable is actually the exact same thing. And allowing a partner to support you is part of extending out the knowledge that the universe will provide and support you. It's holding space for yourself. You're holding space for yourself because you're allowing somebody into that space to meet you where you are and to hold you where you are and to hold space with you, because you know that the universe is a benevolent place and you're not busily in your ego going, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe. Because you know that if you were to allow somebody in and they weren't coping, they weren't able to do that for you, then you would continue to do it for yourself and you would move on. Does that help, Sue? We are told that they are a weakness and to hide. Exactly. We because emotions are so powerful. They're so powerful. And this is why in this inverted world, everything that will free you, everything that will remind you of your power, you have been told against. And emotions are a big one. And, you know, have a look at how many kids are medicated these days to not feel emotions. I noticed recently that I have this habit of suppressing emotions. And what happens when you suppress emotions is that then you're going to be so easily triggered. Imagine how easily you can be triggered if they're all just bubbling under the surface and then somebody just has to like brush past, like a hint of a breeze past, and one of them will go because it needs to be expressed. And so if you're not allowing it kind of in like a, it's almost like, to be able to express your emotions in a healthy way and to hold space for them and to regard them is really like ideally what we learn as we evolve, right? We have to. We cannot actually get to a place of living as sovereign beings in our power if we have not evolved to holding regard for our own emotions. And yet I bet if I asked all of you listening and who are going to hear this at some point in time, how good you are at holding regard for your own emotions, most of you, if you're honest, would probably say not very good at it. And we're all a work in progress. Like, I'm not saying anyone's there. But how many of you would say, actually, I'm not very good at regarding my own emotions, but then ask either me or someone else, how can I get people to respect my emotions? Well, the first thing that you need to know is that you're not going to be able to have a healthier relationship than the one that you're having with yourself. You also can't attract something into your life that you don't give yourself. You cannot. You cannot attract regard for your emotions in when you do not regard your own emotions. And then you can stop being frightened of the whole vulnerability thing, because when you're regarding your own emotions so highly, if somebody is not able to do that, you will simply leave the space and you won't use it against yourself. You won't beat yourself up with it. You won't let ego take it and go, oh my God, we're so overwhelmed, I can't believe they did that. You will be the adult in the room and you will stand up and you'll say, that's okay, I'm not going to use this against myself. So Haruka, I feel like if you start actually honouring your emotions more and allowing them, okay, so obviously I'm not talking about having a tantrum in a supermarket. What I'm talking about is as something bubbles up, go, oh, okay, just let myself feel that. Just let myself feel that. And I don't have to attach a thing where it has to go away, and I don't have to attach who put this here. Who put this here? I can simply just sit with it and go, okay, what are you showing me? What are you showing me? Why is this coming up? What is it that I'm currently telling myself? Where am I? Where are you guiding me at the moment? It's difficult to ask for help or allow and accept someone's help. So Sue, it's interesting that you say this, because in the last 3 days, it keeps coming up with female clients in different ways. One was on a connection walk and the other 2 were in sessions about being held, and about how much the universe is holding us and how nature holds us and how source and spirit and God and whatever it is that you use, whatever words you use, how much we are being held at this time. And the women this is coming up for are reacting to this in different ways. Some of them feel sad, some of them feel frightened at allowing that holding. And one of them said, I feel really sad at being told that I'm being held, because when I look back in my life, I was not held at times when I needed to be. Like the birth of a child and different, like really big things. I was not held. And they could all relate to, well, I haven't been held, so now you're telling me I'm held, but actually that's quite sad and confronting in a way. And one said, no, I don't feel sad, but I feel frightened in a way to allow that because it's not happened in the past. Can you see again how like that immediately lets you know that that's ego going, well, I've not experienced that before, so therefore it's not real. So therefore it's not true. So your ego, Sue, saying, well, it's very difficult to allow help because you know what? When I've asked for it in the past or when I've looked for it, it wasn't there. The shift that's really needed at the moment, and in order for anything to be different, is that you understand that we can no longer ask for help from people who are unable to give it. We can no longer expect to be held by people who are not even holding themselves. How can someone hold you when they're not holding themselves? How can someone hold space for you when they can't hold space for themselves? How can someone give to you what they literally do not have? And so there's got to be this shift of looking to each other, being let down by each other, or, you know, the belief that we're being let down by each other, the feeling that we're being let down by each other, and then taking that and applying it as a principle to life, as a principle to mastery, as a principle to who we are in our full authentic selves, as a principle to the heaven on earth template. We're taking the least evolved part of us, we're taking our triggers, our least evolved part, and our traumas, and we're saying this is the best of us, and this is how life works. We're taking all that matrix programming and who we are within that, who we see each other as, and we're going, this is all there is. This is as good as it gets. So firstly, you need to separate out the matrix programming from what is actually available here. Then you need to separate out people in their triggered and their least evolved parts of themselves from what humanity is actually capable of. And then you need to separate out your own ego from your own right mind, your own higher self. And you need to remind yourself that, no, I'm being held by the process. Firstly, I'm being held by myself. I'm being held by myself, and I'm being held by life. So I can ask for help, I can allow help, I can allow a flow, and I can allow all those things. And when this person can't give it to me, I recognize that that is them at this point in time, and that is not the process of life. And so you stop using the past as a predictor for the future. You stop using the past as a predictor for the future, and you allow life to meet you where you are. And so often when women do this work with me and we start and they say, well, I just have nothing even to hold on to of what, like, having been supported, I say, then literally just use the earth as you walk on it. Then just say, the earth supports me in every step. The earth supports me in every step. The earth supports me in every step. This chair supports me as I sit here, right? This table supports me as I sit here. Like, literally just, you know, my breath supports me. My heart supports, like, literally just start affirming it with the earth, and the food and the nourishment supports me. And then you'll be able to actually start to have some proof in there in those mental filing cabinets, and you can extend it out. And then you can start to extend it out. You're not going to experience it until you can shift, until you can change your mind, until you can shift out of that ego aspect that's going, no support. People have different capacity. Hello, Yusra. My love, people have different capacity. Sometimes what's bare minimum to us might be bare, absolutely. And we have got to stop getting our sense of self from what other people are capable of. Like, it is not a reflection of me, of what you cannot do. It is not a reflection of me, of where you can meet me. It's not a reflection of me, of whether you can hold space. It's a reflection of you. And then I get to decide what I'm going to do with that. That is the real meaning of boundaries. Boundaries, we've just been taught them so badly, right? We've been so set up to fail boundaries 101 by being told that if you had good boundaries, nobody would ever disrespect you. Like, everyone would know the rules of play. Don't fuck with me. That's good boundaries. It's not true, right? Good boundaries is when so you're 100% responsible for what you do. I'm 100% responsible for what I do. And then there is a shared energetic space between the two of us. And whatever you put in there, I don't have to pick it up. Once I pick it up and I start telling myself that I'm not worthy because you didn't support me, or that I mustn't be good enough because you rejected me, or any of those things, once I start telling myself that is a lack of boundaries. That is me taking what you have placed in there and using it against myself, taking it inside me. So it's like, you know, the languaging is the giveaway there. Things like, you know, like the words are like a dagger to my heart, or like, you know, his words were like a punch in the gut. And we do feel that. We energetically feel that punch in the gut or the dagger to the heart, but we did that to ourselves, right? The stuff is placed there in that energetic, and then we take it and go, and we keep it alive, we feed it, and we make it mean something about ourselves that it does not. It does not. Great, that's good, Sue. I can totally relate to that, not having had much support in the past. So, okay, so if you're someone that hasn't had a lot of support, there are two things to consider, like two things to start implementing to shift that. One is to recognize what I just said. The past does not predict the future if I have changed my mind. So at the moment, you're going to see a lot of not being supported because you will hold a very strong belief, I am not supported. You have formed that belief very validly from experiences that were truth. They are not necessarily truth now, but once ego holds a really strong belief like I'm never supported, when I need people, they're just not there. Yes, it happened, but we carry it decades later, and then ego sets its lens, right? It's like we wear our beliefs like literally like a lens, and one of yours will be, one of mine was, very strong, I am not supported. And so what we will do is we will see life through that lens, and life cannot change. Life cannot change. We will start to create the scenarios that keep playing that out as truth. There's that element to it, right? I'm not supported, so I'm just going to keep getting experience after experience that makes me go, see. And I'm also going to see where I'm not supported, where other people would go, actually, that's not even what was going on there. Like, we'll be so fine-tuned to seeing where there is no support as more evidence of, because ego has to always be right, has to always be proven right. The other really important thing to really ask, remember, always bring it back to you. Where do I now not feel comfortable being supported? Because that is a big one. Because what happens, usually folks who get to adulthood and have a belief of I am not supported, were not supported as children. There were very valid, pivotal times where support was lacking. What happens then is we become okay with not being supported. We usually become the supporter in the situation. We start to get our sense of self and our sense of value from supporting others and being okay. I don't need it, but I can support you. We start to seek out scenarios and situations where we can support others, but we start to become more and more uncomfortable being supported. And so we have to start looking at, because I know what it was like for me. And I'm just going to move rooms because Mr. Cookson's just come home and he's going to come in and start chatting. So for me, I had to really look at, where do I actually reject people who try and support me? So when I was like at the absolute height of really not being supported, what was really going on was that whenever I would meet somebody who kind of wanted to support me, I ran away. I would get really uncomfortable. I just didn't want it to be about me. I'm like, I don't want this to be about me. Let's make it about you. And so of course I kept creating relationships, friendships, scenarios where I was the support crew. And they did not support me. So my ego would say, see, they don't support you. But really what was happening, and that's what I would say, ask yourself, are you now uncomfortable being supported? How much are you now creating this as an experience in your own life? Like, let me know. Let me know if that, if you can look at like where people try and support you. So where I really realized that with me, I had, this is actually in the book. So if you've read the book, you've heard this, just turn off. I hurt my back really badly. So I was still nursing. My back was absolutely rotten. I mean, at its worst, I had done 2 discs in my back. At its worst, I could not carry my handbag. And I lived by myself in an apartment on the, like, up 2 flights of stairs. And, being a good pack horse anyway, being a good, don't worry about it, I'll do it, don't worry about it, I'm fine, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. I still was, carrying, like, shopping up and stuff. And my brother visited me and we went to the supermarket and we got back home. There was 2 bags of shopping. He was driving. He pulled up out the front of my block of flats and I got out. I opened the back door, I grabbed the bags and I started walking towards the front of the apartment block. And I heard this voice behind me and he said, "Are you right there? Like, do you want me to carry that?" And I literally had a shock because I had forgotten he was there. And it was one of those, one of those times that really stays with you, because I suddenly thought, oh my God, like, how many times throughout my life have I had support available, but A, I'm either so focused on the people who are unable to give it to me, or B, I'm so living in the reality of there is no support that I've literally missed it, and it was literally, like, right next to me. So that is a really powerful thing to always ask yourself too. Like, am I even allowing myself to receive this? Is the truth of it now that I feel uncomfortable receiving it? I have my sense of self comes from being a giver and being the support person, and I feel uncomfortable when it's the other way around. I don't want it to be about me. Because, this whole thing of, like, being selfish kind of gets bandied around. Don't be selfish, be like this whole, like, martyr bullshit that, a lot of us have going on, especially women. The reality of it is, yes, your life is about you. Your focus is on you. But the reality of it is that a lot of us focus on the outside and a lot of us focus on supporting other people because we feel uncomfortable when the spotlight is on us, basically. Yes, I'm always the giver. Yes, I have always felt uncomfortable receiving support. As women, we have got to start owning this. As men, you have to start owning it too. As women, we have got to start owning the feeling uncomfortable receiving support. Often, like financially, space holding, that kind of thing. As men, also receiving support emotionally from the women around you. Obviously financial as well, but I feel like men are even more uncomfortable about receiving support emotionally. I used to be uncomfortable with help and support, but now I'm open to support. Maybe that's why support is... Absolutely. How can it come in when we're not... when we're actually blocking it? And how can it come in when our belief is really firmly set to, no, I never get supported? And ego will find examples of that. It will hunt high and low. All right, how long have we been on? I think we've been on a while. Maybe I should end it here and save it to make sure it saves. In this world of reels where everybody's attention span is about a maximum of about 3.2 milliseconds, hopefully some of you watch the whole thing. I'm also always the listener. And how well do you listen to yourself? Because it's great that you're a listener. That's great. Beautiful. It's a beautiful skill to have. It's a beautiful thing to have. It's a very honouring listening to somebody. Very honouring. And the question you could ask yourself is, how well do I listen to myself? Because bring everything back to you. Bring everything back to you. Great, Sue. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, watch it back. Might put it onto YouTube too. All right, folks. Just a bit of Tuesday musing. Nice to have you all here. Nice to have a kind of a bit of a spontaneous check-in every now and again. Some good stuff in this one, I reckon. I might have to watch it back myself. Learning that every day. Yeah. I mean, it's too far back for me to find it, maybe. But is my life about me? Yes. I think the person, it was like, What is our role, Rita? What is our role in changing the narrative game? Do we just concentrate on ourselves? Yes. Yep. You just focus on you and everything will change from there out. And let's just really up our game in asking, where am I feeding all this stuff? Where am I feeding it? Where am I contributing to this? Where am I doing this? Because you know what? We can like give money till the cows come home. We can share the memes. We can do the stuff, whatever. But if we're still energetically feeding it, like that's the most powerful thing we can do. Hello, Mr. Cookson. I'm in the office doing a live. I had to move because you were going to disturb us. That is the most powerful thing that you can do. Can you make a coffee? Can you make a coffee, please? That is the most powerful thing that you can do. Focus on yourself. Where am I feeding this? Where am I? Where am I? I'm like the team that texts us going, Mom, can you bring me food? Where am I contributing to this? Get up every day. Wake up every day. And before you touch any device, am I remembering my power? What tone am I setting? What is my intention with today? Am I aligned? What am I modeling for people? And whatever I'm seeing out there that I'm worried about, that's distressing me, that's disturbing me, where am I doing this to myself? Where am I feeding it? And let me start there and then extend it out. Because you're not going to be able to change anything out there before changing it in here anyway, no matter how much you want to, no matter how much time and energy you dedicate to it. Thank you. until you do it in here, it is always just going to be fleeting. If you want the permanent, if we want to band together, which we are, that's why we're here. We're here in this space because we want to band together and we want to create heaven on earth, whatever that looks like. Whatever that is for each one of us. If we're going to be able to do that, then we need to really up our games in our own lives and go, right, where am I feeding this? How can I be my most authentic self? How can I be my healthiest? How can I regard myself, hold space for myself? Just constantly provide that for myself so that I am so that the part that I play in the collective, I'm playing to the best of my ability. So rise into your part in the collective, but always bringing it back to you. All right, folks, trying not to feed the beast. You know what? It's about knowing that the ego, which is in us, is the thing that connects us to the beast. And it's about honoring that part of ourselves too. It's about honoring our fear as much as we honor all the good stuff. It's about honoring our addiction to conflict. It's about honoring the shadow as much as we honor the light. It's about all of it. And when we can unify in ourselves, then we're going to be able to do it on the outside. When we can respect and regard all of ourselves, then we're going to be able to respect and regard each other. That's the thing. Once you can have that compassion for yourself, you will be able to have it for others. Really needed this today as I just had a big argument with my parents. Well, I love that. And I love that it was very spontaneous and it turned into this. I didn't sort of plan to talk about all of this stuff. And I love that you were here to hear it. So, all right, everyone, much love. Great to see you. And we will do it again sometime soon. You're welcome. Bye.